Hey everybody, it is Kellen Nitro for Nitro Maniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited coming at you again with my take, Nitro's take, on last night's pay-per-view. Yes, AEW held their first pay-per-view of the year of 2021. It was AEW Revolution coming from Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. The date for that event was March 7th, 2021, and here's my take on all that happened during that night. Was it AEW's first misstep? Well, we'll get to that as the event kind of rolls on, but here is just basically my take, match by match, on what I thought was great and what I didn't like. And for most of the pay-per-view, it was stuff that I really liked. It checked all the boxes for me, all the way up to the final seconds of that main event, much like everybody else. And we'll get into that here as I rub my hands very greedily. So we're going to start things off with a buy-in match. This was the women's tag team match on the buy-in. It was initially supposed to be Dr. Britt Baker and Reba, or Rebel, whatever, versus Thunder Rosa and Riho, but Rebel not cleared to compete, so mystery partner time, and it's Maki Ito. Yes, that's right, the darling of the women's eliminator tournament for AEW. Flew over from Japan, and she's staying a bit too. She's going to be involved in a 6-man tag on Wednesday on Dynamite as well. Her performance for her little opening routine wasn't Ashley Simpson type bad, but the mix was off, so she was very loud and the music behind her was very quiet. I almost wonder if that's just the acoustics of Daly's Place, but the crowd, the limited crowd there, was bopping and moving their head across, so there we go. Rosa and Ito were fun to watch off the opening bell. Riho and Rosa had some double team moves. They look good. There's more middle fingers here than a Stone Cold Steve Austin match. And yes, throughout the pay-per-view, if you took a shot for every time somebody flipped somebody to Bird, you wouldn't have made it to the second hour of the pay-per-view. That spot was used a lot. Of just people just flipping each other off and whatever. Very weird. A Kokeshi headbutt from Ito only nets a 2 count on Rosa, and I'll go ahead and say it, she does it better than Tomoaki Honma. I think that just the unexpectedness of this 5'0" Japanese idol just dropping out of nowhere with a headbutt is incredible. So there we go. Riho tries to end it with a Shining Wizard, but Ito rolls through and nets a half crab. No dice for the submission, but still a great spot. Now time for the finish. Rebel tries to interfere, but drops a crutch. Britt pushes Rosa into Rebel, which makes her drop the crutch, but the two end up near the ropes again, and Rebel nails Rosa from behind, no look, even too, so beauty, a no look crutch hit, and Rebel nails Rosa with the crutch to allow Britt the 1-2-3 on Thunder Rosa, so Britt Baker has a pinfall on Thunder Rosa going into Dynamite this Wednesday. What does that mean? Well, a lot of people speculating that she's the new #1 contender for the women's title going forward, so we'll have to wait and see. A fine North American debut for Maki Ito. AEW might have something here with her. The Rosa Baker feud continues, but a lot of people, like I said, was speculating there that is Britt Baker the new #1 contender for the AEW Women's Championship. Runtime for that one was 14:50, and it was a very good match. It would have been fine on the first or second hour of Dynamite. We have a nice little dedication off the top of the pay-per-view to Jim Crockett Jr. by AEW, who passed away this week, and we go right into the AEW World Tag Team title match, MJF and Chris Jericho taking on the Young Bucks. And it was at this point in the pay-per-view that JR sounded rough. He sounded like his throat was going on him. He would sound better throughout the night, so I think his involvement was greatly reduced throughout this pay-per-view, much because he really didn't have the voice for it and picked up something or whatever. The Bucks kind of looking like the Rockers tonight. Apparently one of the Bucks' daughters designed a gear that they were wearing, and MJF looking like Rowdy Roddy Piper with the blue trunks, the blue knee pads, and the off-color boots, maybe the white boots happening too. Inner Circle separating Matt early, and with some help from Wardlow on the outside, they incapacitate Matt. Nick comes in though and is a house of fire with a double bulldog and nets a destroyer on MJF for 2. The Walls of Jericho attempt on Nick, and Nick escapes the tag, but Matt gets thrown right into it. Meltzer driver attempt, but Jericho hits Matt with the bat on the outside, and MJF hits the heat seeker, but only nets a 2 count. The assisted Judas effect backfires as Wardlow gets knocked off the apron. The small package only nets 2 for Nick. The Bucks hit the BTE trigger, and that only nets 2. The Meltzer driver, though, finally hits 1-2 free. The Bucks retain, and the runtime for this one was 17:50. A very passable, once again, opening match, and it would have not looked out of place on the weekly TV show. I think that it was also a really solid opener as well. So, tip of the hat to the 4 men. And I know the Bucks were trying to replicate last year's tag team match of the year at Revolution. It didn't happen here, but it was, in my opinion, a very fast-paced. It told a great story and a very solid opener. So, there have been worst openers to pay-per-views. This was not one of them. This was actually very acceptable and probably among one of the best of 2021 so far. It's a very short list, but there we go. Then comes my bane right now of doing any sort of reviews or whatever for this channel. In the 4+ years of doing this channel, I have not been able to figure out battle royals and how to cover these things. And this was the Casino Royale Tag Team Battle Royal, with the winning tag team getting a shot at the Young Bucks later on either Dynamite or next pay-per-view or something, probably in the upcoming weeks on Dynamite. The opening teams were 5 and 10 of the Dark Order, taking on the Natural Nightmares of QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes. So 90-second intervals for a new team to be introduced, and both members need to be bounced from the Battle Royal, but other than that, you could eliminate one member of the team and have the other member stay a while, like they did. We can fast forward right on through to the end of the Battle Royal here, because that's when the more interesting stuff happens. Not saying that there was anything not interesting during the Battle Royal, but we got a split potentially of the Natural Nightmares between QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes. We got some great one-on-one matches here with Pac and John Silver for one, which was great. A great sequence built there with those two guys. Let's see what happens if they go one-on-one in the ring. That was awesome. We had some real interesting combination double team moves too. Reynolds basically doing a tombstone pile driver while landing double knees on Chris Daniels while Daniels is down on the mat. That was kind of crazy, but hey, there we go. So we'll go down to the final 4, which is John Silver, Pac, Phoenix, and Jungle Boy. So 3 teams, Silver and Reynolds, Death Triangle, and the Jurassic Express being basically represented there. Silver and Pac exchange elimination attempts, and what a square off. Phoenix eliminates Silver, Jungle Boy eliminates Pac, and it's down to Phoenix and Jungle Boy, and that's another singles match that I would love to see. And I think actually it wasn't, because it was signed for Matt Jackson versus a winner of this match here, and the winning team was Phoenix and Pac. So Ray Phoenix will meet Matt Jackson later this week on Wednesday as kind of a teaser, a prelude to their tag title opportunity. But a big Yakuza kick by Phoenix nets the win. Phoenix and Pac get the number 1 contendership. What's the runtime on this one, you may be asking? Well, I'll tell you. It was 26:45. So it's 26:45. And then we hop right to the backstage where Paul White teases the big announcement. He says that whoever it is, nobody can outwork him. So there you go. Be that as it may. AEW World Women's Title, Ryu Mizunami, the challenger, taking on Hikaru Shida. Mizunami, the winner of the Women's Eliminator Tournament for the shot at the AEW World Women's Title. This is hard-hitting Joshi goodness. Mizunami powerbombs Shida into the crowd at ringside off of the opening moments of the match. Shida hits a crunchy on the stage, though, sometime later. Superplex on Mizunami nets a 2 count. A Falcon Arrow by Shida nets a 2 for Ryu. But the first Tomashi by Shida, but she can't make the cover. A spear by Mizunami into the guillotine leg drop nets only a 2 count. A Falcon Arrow by Shida, but on Ryu, but only nets a 2 count. And then a second Tomashi by Shida, but Ryu rolls through and nets a 2.999 count. Like, it was that close for a free count. A third Tomashi, but still no dice. But then a screw knee strike gets the job done. Shida with the 1-2 free, and the runtime for that one was an amazing 15:10, a quality 15-minute affair for the World Women's title in AEW. Post-match, though, Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero hit the ring to attack the champ. Maki Ito and Baker hit the ring too and attack both Mizunami and Shida, and then Thunder Rosa hits the ring and chases off both heels. So we have a massive 6-man coming up on Wednesday with the majority of these individuals involved in it. Stay tuned for that. More storyline around the World Women's title scene with it, and they're taking advantage of Ito and Ryu Mizunami coming over from Japan and giving them a few extra shows to work and show their worth a little bit of it. I would think that they get the appearance on Dynamite at least, and maybe a couple episodes of Dark out of them as well. So May 30th, Double or Nothing returns. Even with the funky music, it's one of the best pay-per-view music beds that there is in any federation right now. I love that Double or Nothing kind of party casino vibe. Very cool. Alex Marvez attempts to interview Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor backstage, but Miro attacks Chuck Taylor and sends him through the glass of a door and says, "Hit my music." And so we go right hot into the next contest, which is Miro and Kip Sabian with Penelope Ford taking on Chuck Taylor, Orange Cassidy. So already we've got a hot start. Miro just crushing Chuck earlier on, and Cassidy limps out. But Cassidy plays possum on the outside, and he wipes out Miro with the orange punch. A PK kick by Kip Sabian nets 2 on Orange. And Taylor with a stuffed pile driver on Kip only nets a 2 count. Then we see an orange punch after a stun dog millionaire by Cassidy on Sabian. Miro drives Cassidy right into Penelope Ford, wiping her off the apron. Miro gets tagged in and locks in the game over for the submission win. And the match runtime is, for that one, 7:50. Very interesting what happens after the match as we see a long kind of look at Miro and Kip Sabian kind of butting heads a little bit at ringside, saying, "Hey, that's my wife. Why did you knock her off the apron?" And Miro's like, "I don't care. I won. You know the deal." So we'll have to wait and see what happens this week on Dynamite. Again, more storyline being built there. There will be a Inner Circle War Council meeting on Wednesday with all of the members of the Inner Circle after the big loss to the Young Bucks during the opening event of tonight's pay-per-view. So the big money match was next. Big money Matt Hardy taking on Hangman Adam Page. Match starts hot with a brawl to the outside, and I don't mind big money Matt if it's a gateway to broken Matt. So i.e. if Matt Hardy loses this match, which he did, if it's a gateway later on to the line to maybe the Dark Order feuding with broken Matt Hardy, hey, that might be something cool that we see. A buckshot attempt thwarted as Hardy hits a superplex. It had kind of an old school WWE pace to it. Orihara moonsault by Page on Hardy. The Deadeye, but Private Party hits the ring. Page goes for a buckshot lariat attempt, but he gets caught, and Side Effect and Twist of Fate only nets a 2 count for Matt Hardy. The Dark Order hits the ringside to even the odds. Big boot by Hardy knocks Page into Dark Order and allows Hangman to hit the buckshot. 1-2-3. Hangman gets Hardy's money for Q1. And post-match, group hug and beer bash, and it seems like that friendship between Hangman, Adam Page, and specifically Silver and Reynolds, but in actuality, all of the Dark Order is very cemented. So that continues that storyline. Now I almost wonder, are we going to see Broken Matt show up next and challenge the Dark Order? I guess that would be the next step, right? Next up was the Face of the Revolution ladder match, where we had Penta El Zero Miedo versus Cody Rhodes versus Platinum Max Caster versus Lance Archer versus Scorpio Sky versus question mark, who is the mystery ladder man? And the winner gets a literal brass ring. Well, actually, they get a shot at Darby's TNT belt. I think this Wednesday, according to the New Legacy Inc. boys, and yes, they were correct, the winner will be involved in the TNT championship match in a main event spot on Wednesday's Impact. And it's Ethan Page. Ethan Page is all elite, and he has a rivalry with Darby Allin from the Indies some years ago, and Cody and Page are the two that go after the ring first. Caster uses the boombox to get them off the ladder. Page hits Splash Mountain on Sky and Archer. Canadian Destroyer on the ladder by Penta and Cody gets sent to the back. Page and Caster fight atop the ladder, assisted powerbomb by Page during that sequence. Big frog splash by Sky on Caster. Archer hits a shotgun knee strike into Scorpio Sky. Cody returns with the belt and goes whipping. There's a superplex by Archer, and Max Caster hits the Acclaim to Fame from the top of the ladder on Cody. Archer goes from the ring, but Page stops him. Page hits a Razor's Edge on Archer, but in comes Jake the Snake Roberts. Jake hits a short arm clothesline, but is quickly dispatched by Penta. Sky and Cody fight atop the ladder. Sky pushes Cody off and grabs the ring. And Scorpio Sky is the number one contender for the TNT title. And is this how they write off Cody off of TV potentially for parental leave? Time will tell. Ethan Page coming to AEW. Big get for the AEW side. We know that it wasn't going to work out with him anymore and management over at Impact. So I think this is the next best thing. And they could still physically have that North blow-off between Josh Alexander and Ethan Page on either Impact TV or on AEW TV as a crossover type thing, as you know, Impact versus AEW. Don't forget those guys together. They ran Rush Shot on Impact's tag team division for a long time. Do we even see a situation where Josh Alexander comes over from Impact into AEW? Hey, time will tell. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, this is a great get for AEW. This boosts up their mid-card quite a bit because you can have him work face, you can have him work heel, and he's a comedic mastermind when it comes to doing the cinematic stuff too. So, awesome to have him on board. Just basically, if you even wanted to use him as a producer too, but they're going to use him as a wrestler, as an in-ring talent as well. And Paul White's big announcement is the return of Christian Cage. Yes, that's right. They reworked his TNA music and his TNA Tron and get a decent pop. Christian Cage is all elite. We'll hear more on Wednesday about that. But, Christian and Tony Khan have been friends for quite a while. And so the embrace at the Royal Rumble between Edge and Christian wasn't a reunion. It was goodbye, basically, as both Edge and Christian separate and go off on their separate ways again, much like 2005. Are we going to get a lot of matches out of him? Are we going to get a few matches out of him? Well, we'll wait and see, but it doesn't hurt to have him expanded onto the roster. A lot of dance partners for him, too, so it'll be very interesting to see what Tony Khan and Kenny Omega and the rest of the, booking elite of all elite wrestling, I guess, come up with here. So the street fight was up next. Sting and Darby Allin versus Team Taz, Cage, and Starks. Taz is in the booth and his mic is shorting out. Not a great sign. And it's cinematic time, baby. The runtime for this one. Well, actually, I should give you the runtimes for the last 3 matches. I haven't been giving them to you. The runtime for Hangman Adam Page versus Big Money Matt Hardy, 14:40. The runtime for the Face of the Revolution ladder match, 23:15. Scorpio Sky, Cody Rhodes, Penta, Zero Miedo, Lance Archer, Max Caster, and Ethan Page involved in that one, of course. And the runtime for this one was 13:40. The street fight, cinematic style. As far as cinematics go, it was good. The problem was the live commentary, I felt, took away from it. So if they were to upload it to YouTube without the commentary, would that potentially add to it? We'll have to wait and see if they do it or not. But hey, it was more of a warehouse fight than a street fight than anything else, where they just had a bunch of cool spots and cool stunts off of the windows and through the gaps of this abandoned warehouse too. There was a very cool coffin drop spot by Darby Allin through the what would be the precursor to one of the ending spots where he climbed up a beam and did the kind of the back coffin drop through on Brian Cage. The coffin drop elbow into the third level by Allin into Cage was unreal, and a Scorpion Death Drop at 13:40 ends it for Sting and Allin as they defeat Starks and Brian Cage. This is what Sting wanted to do when he signed with All Elite. So this is the first one of these out. The first time out with Sting in a cinematic style, and it works. It does. You can make him look like a badass. It's the same deal that you could do even with The Undertaker. Now, if WWE ever wanted to do anything with Undertaker, cinematic style, that's it. Just board off a warehouse and do it. My only gripe with it is it wasn't a street fight. It was a warehouse brawl. Name it as such. Say, hey, we're going to take an abandoned warehouse and it's going to be a warehouse brawl. We get a rundown for Dynamite for Wednesday, and of course the main event will be Scorpio Sky versus Darby Allin for the AEW TNT Championship, and we go right into the main event. And I was looking forward to this one, the AEW World Heavyweight Championship Exploding Barbed Wire Death Match. This is strange, between Jon Moxley, the challenger, and Kenny Omega, the champion. Moxley rocking the Onita leather jacket. Callis jumps on the commentary and says, "It's a great day to die." The match starts super tentative. The match spills out to the one side without barbed wire, and Mox returns in, and Omega hits Mox with the powder, and into the wire goes Mox for the first big explosion of the match, and that only nets a 2 count. Corturo Crusher by Omega only nets a 2 count. Mox busted open. Figure 4 by Omega, but Mox takes the barbed wire chair and saws it across Omega's leg. Ouch. Mox gets sent into the barbed wire board. Moonsault by Omega only nets a 2 count. Omega tries another figure 4, but then the barbed wire he goes flying into and gets blown up, and then he gets sent in again. He went in forwards and he went in backwards, and both of those had the crowd going, oh, like that. That's the thing about the ending of this thing, and we'll fast forward to it here, but during the match, the barbed wire explosive bits I thought were good. I thought they were great. I thought they translated great on pay-per-view, and from what I've seen from the fan cams in the building, it looked good in venue too. Which makes the ending kind of more inexplicable, or maybe they tried something and maybe they had to, dumb it down for fire marshal, thoughts or something like that. But this was, during the match, the explosions looked great. They looked credible. They looked, like it gave the extra ooh and ah. Mox hits an exploder into a second barbed wire board. A great sequence after with Mox and Omega. Then Kenny muscles Mox into the ropes. Kaboom. A paradigm shift into the triple hell on the outside. Boom. The crowd is split 50-50 at this point, so they're into it. Onita-style powerbomb only nets a 2 count for Omega. 2 V-triggers and a one-winged angel only nets 2. Mox leg hits the ropes, though, after Kenny covers Mox at that point, so he comes up and goes, what? And then boom, and it blinds Omega, and Omega sells his eyes the rest of the match. But the Good Brothers hit the ring. Omega hits Mox with the exploding barbed wire bat, so page out of Onita's playbook, and one-winged angel on the chair. Omega covers 1, 2, 3, and Omega retains the belt with the help of the Good Brothers. Post-match, the clock is still ticking. There's 3 minutes left until the entire venue is supposed to go up in flames. Well, at least the entire ring. But the Good Brothers and Omega are still in the ring. The clock is running out. They're 1 minute away. Eddie Kingston runs out with a bunch of people in the back trying to hold him back or whatever, but he runs out and he chases off the Good Brothers and Omega, and he tries to help Mox out. Mox is handcuffed, so he can't escape, and then he looks at the time. 3, 2, 1, 0. So, Kingston throws his body over top of Omega as kind of a human shield in one last act of defiance and love for his buddy, and all of a sudden, that's all I can say about that. The fireworks display and the pot bombs and whatever that they had set up at ringside were akin to the fireworks display you would have at your uncle's farm for a 4th of July celebration, or maybe the college football team scoring a touchdown. It was not deathmatch, Japanese deathmatch, FMW from the 90s, Worthy, or anything like that. It looked better, actually, on the in-house fan cams that I seen and translated on a pay-per-view, so I almost wonder if they just kind of misshot it as well. But, man, it fizzled out big time. Who set the ring to Happy Birthday and not deathmatch? With the sparklers and everything. It was just kind of Penta El Zero Miedo's entrance tonight for the ladder match had more veracity in the pyro than we've seen for this one. So we go off the air with EMTs treating both Mox and Kingston, and we're going to find out more on Wednesday. So all in all, I had this pay-per-view, had a 9 out of 10. I really want to give it a 9 out of 10, but that ending took the wind out of everybody's sails because of the fizzle of it. 7 out of 10. I have to do it. That final bit with the ending and that stuff is just unforgivable. It was bad. And yeah, I think it is AEW's first real misstep. Is just that. I think that they've been really cruising along, but now they got some adversity. Now let's see what happens as they fight through this. They were able to fight through the Dark Order thing a few years ago. Well, yeah, now we can say it's a few years ago, 2019, 2020, 2021, now, a couple of years ago at least. Established Dark Order as, at least a credible mid-card faction. Now it's up to this. How can they redeem all that was kind of lost? And already the Damage Control has already started. They had Mox cut a promo basically saying that, hey, Kenny designed this, which is true to the storyline and that stuff. Kenny Omega did design this match and whatever. So we'll see what happens on Wednesday for sure. Throwing, caution into the wind, throwing, grease onto the bonfire, I guess. That's a bad analogy, but there we go. Alright, folks, later days, happy wrestling watching. We'll catch you next time on Nitro Maniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited. Take care, and may your death matches all end in kabooms and not fizzles, I guess, is the moral of tonight's pay-per-view. Alright, take care.